when it turns off, maybe we can start the Q&A, but I haven't talked about anything yet, so it's just started. So yeah, good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here. The reason why I'm here is because I met David around a couple of months ago. We met playing kicker. So somebody invited me to go to this place to play kicker, and then we started talking about where I work, what I do, why I came to Berlin, and basically we started talking about the topic of how do we innovate in where I work. So today I kind of brought some kind of a journey of how have been our experience in the past 1.5 years in the company where I work, which is probably most of you know it, it's Zalando. I've been working there for almost 1.5 years. And I belong to a team that is in a regular basis developing new products and new businesses for the company. So today I brought this kind of a story about our success, more importantly about our failures and what have we learned through these failures. So I hope it will be interesting for you. It will take around 20 minutes. If the slides is not working, maybe I can just try to go along without the slides. But if at some point you have any questions, just feel free to stop me. Let's try to make it very interactive. Okay? So before I start, I have a question. Who speaks Spanish in this room? Who's Spanish speaking? Wow. Alright. So I was told by David to do it in English, but anyhow, afterwards we can also speak Spanish. I'm originally from South America, from Venezuela, and yeah, we can also speak in Spanish afterwards. Another test, who is a student? No one? 2 people. Who has a startup? 5. Who works in a startup? Okay, who works in a corporate? Okay, who's just in Berlin having fun? Or who's freelancing? Alright, so it's quite a mixed crowd. Okay, cool. So today I brought you a topic which I'm looking at my computer now. Maybe you can probably see it there. But it's all about our journey of entrepreneurship in Zalando. Funny enough, I was last week in a conference in Madrid. It was called the Innovators Conference. There were different kind of companies there, very traditional companies. Companies that have a lot of story in Germany, companies like Bayer, companies like Deutsche Bahn. Also kind of young companies, and we're kind of impressed that I was there, because one of the comments that I received is like, okay, Zalando is kind of a unicorn of Berlin, and why do you have an entrepreneurship program? Like, how did that came along? So I was really impressed with that, because also we don't give too much marketing, or we don't do too much PR around our, let's say, innovation lab, because most of the things we do is more or less encouraged or boosted by our employees. So innovation is something that it's kind of a broad culture around our company. And today I'm going to bring you like how this culture was nurtured from the beginning. So the whole story is going to be around how have we created a culture for bottom-up innovation. Okay? When I say bottom-up, it's because the innovation in our company comes from our employees. Most of the things we do doesn't come top-down. And this is also related to the principles of how Zalando works. There's a lot of autonomy. There's a lot of decision-making latitude that employees can take, and that helps them to move forward without any bureaucratical things in between. So, the topic is called the Intrapreneurship Journey at Zalando. Does any one of you know what entrepreneurship means? More or less? Can you raise your hand if you know what intrapreneurship means? Okay. You can raise your hand, come on. All right, so it's kind of an entrepreneurship, but within the boundaries of a big organization. So how can we motivate our employees to act entrepreneurial? Like, how can they feel that they're founders of something, okay? Maybe you can see it from there, but I brought some faces, because everything around innovation in Zalando starts with people. Let's try it again. Any questions until now? Good.
It's coming.
Okay, we can wait. You sure it's coming? Yeah?
Yeah.
There you go. Alright. So this is how I would like to start our journey. So first of all, I would like to introduce you to some faces. These are the faces of the people who innovate in our company. And what you can see here in this slide are three of the main people that I've worked on with lately. So you have Franzi on the left side. Franzi has a background in psychology. And after a while that she understood the business, she mixed her background and the business understanding that she had to come up with a new product. The guy in the middle is Humberto. He used to be a research engineer. He started with this personal pain point by buying at Zalando. He thought the experience was super terrible. And then afterwards, he came up with an idea of how can you improve the inspirational part of buying in our app. And finally, Niels is someone who works in customer care. He knows a lot about customer pain points. And he solved a problem that Zalando has neglected for years because there was no priority, it was not kind of things that we wanted to solve. But in the end, he took his ownership of this topic and he created a solution to solve it for our customers. What I want to highlight here is in Zalando, great ideas come from anywhere. It doesn't matter if you work in product, it doesn't matter if you work in customer care, it doesn't matter if you're a developer. We just want to know what kind of problem are you solving and if you have the drive to take it forward. Before we go to the real topic, so for the ones that you don't know what Zalando is, I'm just going to give a very, very fast brief about the company nowadays. So last year we increased our workforce in 25%. We went from 11,000 to 15,000 in this year. We recently opened a new tech hub in Lisbon, in Portugal. We have around 15 engineers there. We turned 10 years old in August, so already 10 years old in this year. And while doing that, last year we made around 4.4 billion euros. And we're present in more than 15 markets. We recently opened in Ireland, in Portugal, and also in Czech Republic. And we believe that we offer a compelling value proposition for both our brands and also our customers. What I believe is the most important part in this slide deck is what you have in the bottom. We are more than 150 nationalities. And I believe that's how innovation really is being nurtured in the company. It's a combination of different backgrounds, different cultures that give you a sense of different ways of approaching problems and also coming with innovative solutions. So that's the key things that I want to highlight here about the international environment that we have within this company. Now, let's go back to our innovators. So this is where everything starts. We believe that people are first and the ideas are second. Another thing that I would like to highlight from here is Humberto. He used to work with me in the same project. He used to be a research engineer, and now he's a product specialist from his product. So it's also a way for you to boost or to give the people the possibility to change career because it's something that they're really passionate about. So it's also what intrapreneurship means for us. Now, I'm going to take you to different stages of how we started this. This didn't start yesterday or a month ago. This actually started around 5 years ago. So Zalando was growing as crazy. We didn't know exactly how to innovate even further. People were super eager to explore new technologies. And then we decided to open a platform for all these employees. So our first step in this journey was called open a platform and give people time to experiment. How do we do this? So this platform, we call it Hack Week. So as the name says, we took a whole week where everyone just stopped their work, just find something that they're really passionate about and then make it happen. We decided for Hack Week instead of like a normal 24, 48 hours hackathon because we thought that this idea was more inclusive. So people had more chances to join during the week. And also we thought that it gave more possibilities to people who had families. So that's how everything started. 5 years ago, people are super eager to explore new technologies. Let's give it the time and space to do that. Of course, it was kind of cost-related activity because the whole organization just stopped the daily operation. If you have code to deliver, you can just say, I'm not going to work, I'm just going to do my Hack Week. But in the end, it's how the culture started. And because we're Zalando, and sometimes we do things without thinking, or most of the things we do is without thinking, after we opened this platform, we realized that there were a lot of ideas, and we didn't have any way to manage these ideas. So what we did was that we started building our own tool to manage these ideas. And this is something that we call the ideas board. A bunch of developers said, we cannot manage this anymore, let's sit down, let's code a specific website where everyone can go there and just say, I want to work on this. And besides saying you're going to work on this, you can already find who can help you out, what kind of skills you require, what kind of project you're working on. And this is actually our core platform nowadays, which is open to the whole company, where you can just go and say, this is something that I want to do for Happy. So that was our second step. First of all, build the space, build the time, and then afterwards just build kind of a tool or a website so people can interact with each other. Because as you may have seen, 15,000 people, they're not all in the same building. So this also gives us a way to know where are they located, how can we work together, and so on and so forth. So we worked with different kind of projects back then. And I think this is the first point that we realized that it's not good to have too many ideas because we cannot really manage all of them. So as you can see in this picture, we also did some kind of crazy projects. We indeed sent a shoe to space. You can go into YouTube and see this video, super crazy. We sent it actually just before Elon Musk sent his card, but anyhow. People were building arcades, people were building wearables, so people were experimenting. And this was really cool because it was open space, it was open experimentation, and there were no rules to do it. We're just telling, just do it, okay? You have the space to do it. But besides that, we were also realizing that people were not doing only fun stuff. We saw that some people were doing some kind of project that would bring potential customer value. For example, we were exploring around 3D content that we can present on our website. We were still exploring how chatbot could work for Zalando. How can we do an experience for doing feeding and AR and so on. So we saw that people were also looking at business opportunities. And this is where my team just steps up. This is the third platform we open. But why do we open this platform? And this is something very important. So we realized that it's not about how to get the ideas, because we got them from Hack Week. It's not about how to share them because we built this platform. It's like, what do we do now with these ideas? And Hack Week is just a week. People do the thing and then actually everything just dies, just fades away. So every challenge for us in Zalando opens an opportunity for us to design and to innovate. And when we do that, we ask ourselves openly, saying, how might we do this? How might we do that? So at that point we say, how might we enable our tech talent to take ideas to the next level, whatever the next level means. And this is when my team stepped in. Slingshot is the platform for every person in Zalando to experiment, build, and launch impactful products. And this is going to turn off in a bit. So, there you go.
Who would have thought it was going to be so boring?
This I can talk about. Okay, so this is my team nowadays. What we basically are is a team of 5 people, and we enable internal employees to work on the ideas after Hack Week. Why do we gift them, or how do we enable them? So it's super easy. We tell them, you have a space, which we call the Innovation Lab. It's not as fancy as it sounds, it's just a space where you have chairs and a lot of post-its. Very cliche, but that's how we work. You're going to do 2 design sprints, which are going to take place in 2 blocks of 5 days and 5 days. And then you're going to have 2 additional days to share your learnings and to pitch back to the management whether you want to get further funding for your project. Okay? So that's what we call the 20% policy, and it's all inspired by Google. Most of the things we do in Zalando is inspired by Google, most of them. This 20% policy is that. So you get a space, 12 days, and also a person like me, sorry, just there now, you can see it now, and a person like me or my team who can help you or can coach you to go from an idea, problem, or opportunity into a tangible product. Okay, that's how it works. Yeah. So, anyhow. On top of that, of course, I said space, I said time. We also give you a little bit of money. So everything is not like just go and do it. We'll give you 1,000 euros so you can use for user testing or for marketing purposes. Okay? So those 5 things. So what we came up with afterwards is that we started with a lot of tech-focused projects. So everyone got really excited, and most of the people were not actually solving any specific customer problem. They were just saying, oh, chatbot is so cool, let's do something around chatbot. Oh, I want to do something with drones. Oh, let's do experiences around AR and VR. But we never were building use cases around it. It was super complicated to in the end show what was the value of this project. And that was when the first time in Slingshot we bumped into a very, very hard wall, because they were asking us what the value of our projects, and we were not able to say what were the value of them. So in my slide says, how do we start? We started with very tech-focused projects. And we built one chatbot, where you can see there's a demo there, but you can see it afterwards. The demo was a chatbot inspired when Facebook launched the Facebook Messenger. This team came to our lab and they say, hey, we want to build experiences around chatbot. And we say, okay, cool. We can help you build something what we understand about the technology. It was an amazing PR for Zalando because we went to the Facebook conference and Zalando was featured there. And we said, right, we made it. But then when we came back and we soft launched it, actually nobody used it. Nobody. Like 10 people on the first day, 100 people the second day, and it just, engagements went down. So and that's what happened to us from the beginning. We were building things without having a specific problem to solve. Okay? So that was our first core learning. How can we go from solution-focused projects to problem-focused projects? The slide says now, we were just focusing on solutions without a problem. You can see it there. You got it? Okay, cool. Any questions until now? That's cool.
How do you get people to do design sprints if they maybe don't know how to work creatively?
Yeah. So my team is also in charge of delivering workshops. So what we do is we provide 3 hours workshop before Hack Week, so they can get already into the mood of how design sprint works. If possible, we can at least try to facilitate the design sprint for them, but our capacity is just too few to do it during Hack Week. Yeah. We're talking about more than 50 projects during Hack Week, and we're just 5 people. And what we do is a consultancy-based thing. For this workshop, we provide it with a box. It's called the design sprint box, and they have a guide there. We build a design sprint guide, and then it guides you step by step what you have to do. So this is how we started, as I said before. Great chatbot, super cool. We just lost hours and hours of development here. So, what happened then? So, this was our trade-off. And I'm talking about that this took us more than a year to realize that. We were so, focused on we have to do great technologies, that at some point we said, okay, let's take a different approach. And this is what I believe was the most valuable pivot that we have in Slingshot. 1 year ago, we decided to go from a tech-centric projects to a user-centric projects. And we didn't do so much to create a process or a framework around it. We bumped into this amazing book, and we just took that book, we multiplied it by 2, which is 5 days, we did 10 days. And then the final 2 days, as I said before, is more about pitching and showing the value of the project. So this is the way we do innovation on a regular basis within Zalando, using the design sprint framework from Google Ventures. And what it does is that you can solve big challenges, you can design, prototype, validate, and test your ideas just in 5 days. So this is how the process looks like. First of all, there's a lot of user research before that. You have to do proper planning. You gather a team. We know more than 7 people, multidisciplinary. We're talking about product people, developers, marketing people, finance, the voice of customers, someone who knows a lot about the customers. You put it in a room for 5 days. There's no coding at all. There are no devices around. And then you go from an idea to a product really, really fast. So you start over here. Everything's super fuzzy. Nobody knows what's the challenge, what's the problem. During the week, everything gets clear and more clear and more clear and more clear and more clear. By the day you test, you really know whether you should build or not build this solution. Okay? Any questions?
Why didn't you prototype first?
Sorry?
Why didn't you prototype earlier? Do you think first start thinking about Google when you start looking at engine and looking at that Google works and then start reversing?
When do I look what? Sorry?
In game development, you start with prototyping, not with the idea itself.
Okay.
Why do you start in the idea and not the prototype or the concepts?
So what we do in this phase is something that we call lighting demos, and we get out of Zalando and look at a lot of solutions. So at that point, we don't have to still prototype. We start ideating over here. because most of the projects that we take into, there's no right or wrong problem. We still don't know the problem at all. So we cannot start prototyping because we're not what we're prototyping for. If this is an existing product, for sure, and that's what we do in the second sprint, we take the prototype and we iterate the prototype for the second week. So the first week you run it as usual, as the normal process, and for the second sprint you start with the learnings from the prototype and you iterate in the prototype. Actually the second sprint is a little faster also. Yeah? So, another problem that we have, this is also part of our learnings, is, okay, great, we have a user-centric framework, we're building these great projects. Once we say, let's build this, there was not sponsorship within the company to take these ideas further. When I say sponsorship, it's someone from a higher level saying, let's put some money to build these things. Let's put some resources, some developers, product specialists, because my team was not in charge of building. We're just searching for the great idea to bring it back to Zalando. And this is where when I come into the story of this team. So back in June 2016, I joined Zalando as a working student. I was thinking of how can I find a way to write about corporate entrepreneurship. Back then, I was really lucky to meet my supervisor of my thesis, which is sitting over there, my business partner. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Not you. And we found a tool where we could measure how Zalando fosters an environment for innovation. And I went to Zalando, I pitched the idea, and I told him I want to make an analysis of 5 different dimensions where you can see if Zalando technology has an environment for people to innovate. They liked it, okay, let's do it. And I had the chance to run this quantitative survey for 180 people. What did we find? So basically there was a mismatch between different levels of the company. This is a really cool tool because you can run it across different business units. You can also run it vertical. And those gaps that you find out is something that you have to think how to take actions and how can you provide the people with all these different dimensions for innovation to happen. So where we found out that it was most problematic was about resources allocation. And that's what we were feeling also from our projects. We're building these great ideas and nobody takes it forward. And that's why our learning number 4 is about getting a sponsorship. So if we go back to this process, this is the one that I explained before without the slide. I said, first of all, people are pitching their idea after Hack Week. You have 12 days, you get a budget, you get a team of 6 and a sprint master, which is us. We included into the equation having a business sponsor. And this is the person in the startup world you will call it as your investor. He's the person who's going to trust on your team, on your vision, on your idea to go into the next step. So we cut it like a different, let's call it seed funding, what they were giving to these teams. Based on that, I brought an example of how these two things were combined, having a sponsor and having a user-centric approach. This is a project that came to us last year. A team came and said, we want to do something around computer vision as a solution for search. And we're like, okay, we're talking about computer vision, which is a solution, and search, which is one of our products. But why don't you take a step back, get out of the building, talk to several users, and figure out what's the problem that they have. So they went and they talked to just 5 customers from Zalando, which they found, I don't know, outside the street. And they figured out that the journey of someone looking something for outside of the Zalando app, their journey started in Instagram. So I'm in Instagram, I'm looking at my feed, and I look at an outfit that I really like. And what do if you like it? You want to see it afterwards, you take a screenshot. And those screenshots were saved in the folders of our customers. And then after a while, they have a break. They go back and revisit the screenshot. They go to Zalando and try to interpret what do they see in the picture. So it's like a dress with a jacket, which is clarity, blah, blah, blah. So they understood from the user perspective that the problem starts over here. So with a different approach, which was starting with the user, we reduced this journey to less than half of it. Just by thinking, how can we solve the problem of the user collecting all this screenshot? I can show you the prototype afterwards, but long story short, what we did is we built a solution around when you make a screenshot, we can tell you where the assortment is within our app. So different approach, huge impact in comparison to starting with technology. That was an example. I can show it afterwards again, the whole journey. But the next slide, it's about some numbers. Who likes numbers here? A lot of data-driven people. Yeah, so numbers are always important, and also going back to this impact of how we measure innovation in the company. Our metrics are pretty much outputs, because we're still figuring out how to evaluate the real impact of our innovation, which is not easy. We have had until, or last year, 150 ideas. That's, let's say, the whole year during Hack Weeks. We have worked in our lab with 32 projects. That translate with more than 100 people joining our lab. We call it Intrapreneurs, of course. And with these 32 projects, we have built 15 MVPs. So these are minimal bio products that we have put it outside, we have tested, we have run some pilot. And from these, we have 78% of failures. That means that these projects were shut down. They don't make economic sense, or we figured out that our problem was not that big, or we're not able to build it within our technical stack. So, all in all, from 32 projects, we have been able to integrate 7 projects. What do we mean with integrate? That means that whatever came out of the lab, a team can take that idea and put it in the product roadmap and then build. Or we can build a whole new structure within Zalando to build this new solution. One example of that is that we started with technology around voice, and then we took the user-centric approach and built use cases for Google Home and Alexa. And we built a whole new team within the company that started developing around voice. So that could be one of the outcomes. All of this driven by our employees. There's nothing top-down that says, let's start building with voice now. No, a girl super passionate about voice. She had the device. She saw how it was improving her life in terms of efficiency. And then we built out a use case just asking the device, where is my Zalando package? So we took the user perspective. We knew that people were super eager and anxious to receive their package, and they don't want to go to the app to check it. You just get home and you ask your device, where is my parcel? It will come tomorrow at 3. Okay, cool. Done. So this is another example. The next slide is another problem that we run into. I feel so happy every time you tell me to. Questions? No? Okay. Yes?
You say 15 MVPs and then 78 failures and then
Yes.
7 integrations. Is it 15 plus? I can't hear it properly because
15 plus, yes.
Because
So more
that
than,
seems like 50%.
no,
you're integrated.
more than 15 MVPs.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of them were not entirely MVP, some, yeah. So, yeah, more than 50. 15, sorry. Yeah, that means more than, yeah.
Yeah, because I thought like 7 is almost 50% of 15.
Yeah, but good point. Yeah, the next presentation.
Numbers.
No, great. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, of
What
course.
happens with an employee when the project is cancelled?
When it doesn't go further? Well, what we do is that we share learnings a lot, and they get to talk a lot about their projects and why it failed. So we have different platforms in the company, and what we do is we share these learnings. So of course, there's the motivation when you tell them this is not working. But one specific example that I was involved with was because it didn't make economic sense to throw. Actually, it was this project. It didn't make economic sense to start creating content for this. Sorry to go that quick. This one. So, feasibility-wise, it was very hard to create 3D content for Zalando. The guy was super passionate. He built several MVPs, but to scale it was super hard. And when we made the economical analysis, the ROI was negative for like years. And the company said, no, we're not going to invest in this. The great thing is that we have the learnings from that project. And another team came December of last year to start doing the project around this. And we showed them the learnings. So they didn't start from scratch. And what we figured out, the startups are working in scalable solutions to build this. So it's a potential cooperation that we can have with startups. So failure, maybe not, more about share the learnings, and then afterwards it could potentially become something in the future that makes sense. Okay, so going back to the previous slides, sorry again for this. Okay, so Not everything was great, for sure. As I was saying, people had to pitch their ideas, they can come over here. But before pitching, we were asking a lot of things to these guys. So it's not that you're gonna be in front of the VP of engineering and just say, cool, I have a slide deck and I'm gonna want to do this. So we told them, first of all, do a proper research, internal and external. Just check which projects have people done before. You have to find a sponsor, because I said that we have a business sponsor, but we're not gonna find it for you. This is very entrepreneurial. It's like you have your startup. And then you have to come several times to our lab so you can pitch. Or we can find a coach for you to help you pitch. So that's when we hit another reality that people cannot really do this during the daily operation, during the daily duties. So how do we notice that it was not working? It's because when we take a closer look to year 2017, Q1, all the ideas were coming from Hack Week, right? But then Hack Week was just once a year, as I said, in December. And then every single month, we just had very, very few intake of ideas. So we had 7 ideas in the ideas board, 3 were pitched, we select 3, because we didn't want to say no, honestly. Then 1 and 1, because we have to work, otherwise we get fired. So yeah, it was just very cumbersome to do this. And of course, they're motivated, but it's just, honestly, it's not 20%, for people it was 120%. And that's where we realized that things were not working properly. So we went back again, we did some research, and we figured out that it's not about finding your sponsor, it's not about doing your homework, it's about all of it. And we wanted to help our people using our user-centric approach of how can we make this better. So, as I was saying, we've been iterating continuously. How can we make this? How can we make it work for our employees? Again, another chance for us for ideation, another opportunity for design, and then we thought within our team, how might we get a continuous flow of ideas for Slingshot, for our platform? So we kind of created different ways of approaching this challenge, but at that same point, we have like a lucky break. Zalando, in July of last year, decided to make restructuring of the whole company. So before, as I said, it was only called Zalando Technology, and the board decided to spread technology around the company. So that means that we came from being just a tech-focused company, and we merged it with commercial teams to create small cross-functional teams which has dedicated ownership of their products. They're able to deliver end-to-end solutions. They take full accountability of their products. They have entrepreneurial mindset, and they're all customer-centric. So for us, it was a lucky break because we said, okay, cool. We have Hack Week, which was only for tech, and now we're merging to commercial. So what should we do? Should we kill Hack Week, or should we just bring Hack Week to also commercial? So maybe you know what we did, right? So we decided that Hack Week is going to be for everyone, everywhere, and the best part is going to be every quarter. So before, Hack Week was just once a year, and then we have like several pitches during the year, and we said, let's leverage from this great event where everyone is involved, everyone is engaged, the people are there, the sponsors are there, and let's see what happens. And this is what happens, actually. So if you take a look at 2017 compared to 2018, this is Hack Week Live. So we went to this huge improvement from 80 ideas last year to 110. So we had the chance to source for more ideas in just picking 5, because our rule of thumb is that we take a project by coach, by Sprint Master. And by Q2, you can already see the difference from 2017 to 2018. And the cool thing around it is that every business unit has a Hack Week now. So there's a Hack Week actually for human resources, which is super cool. And last quarter was Digital Foundations, which is a team of 800 developers, merged with people from human resources. There's a lot of challenges around people. And then we're building tech solutions to tackle the most pressing problems within our company around people. For example, performance evaluations. So we build a product around performance evaluations, which is a website that has machine learning, can learn from everyone, and it's amazing. And now we're kind of a platform for all the company. So all of these things, well, you can see the arrows now. All of these things is as I said from the beginning of my story, how we have created a culture for bottom-up innovation. So, again, it's a huge investment, but we always opt to do it because we know how it impacts the culture of always being there, always thinking how things can be done better and better. Now, this is the last part of my talk. Well, this is a 7 point, and just another one, which is number 8. This is about strategy. And when I talk about strategy, as I said before, in Zalando we do things and then we take a step back and see what can we do better. Now we're thinking about a strategy for entrepreneurship. How can we take this to the next level? What we have learned is 20% is not enough for us to really find a product market fit, for example. We know that we have found a solution to a problem, but we don't know if the market is ready for us to put the solution outside. For the past month, me and my team are working in a strategy. I don't know if you can see it there, but basically it's the first 3 steps are the same. So we start with sourcing a lot of ideas that come from the ideas board. It's the first management platform that I show you. We think that every year we can get around 400 ideas, more or less. From from ideas board, around 50% of these ideas can be experimented during Hack Week. We're talking about 200 ideas. And trust me, from these 200, I'll say less than half of the team really finishes their projects because it's very time exhausting. In 5 days, you have to prove that your project makes sense. Then from Hack Week, they come to Slingshot, which is my team, where we validate these ideas, and then there are 2 paths, whether it doesn't work or you just share the learnings. But we have a missing link here. I don't know if you see this space, and that's what we're working on now. We don't want to call it like acceleration, but we want to make this project kind of go even faster, and we're working into a phase where these employees can continue working on their projects for a longer time and having additional resources. That means instead of having like a 3-month timing, full stack developers, a product manager, and then we can really build and launch the product after we validate from Slingshot. And this is our strategy until now. No? Great. Let's just wait so I can just show you this slide.
Please?
Yes. Oh, yeah, please. Thanks. Questions? Marta, you have... Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Lisa. I come from Venezuela already.
Oh! Listen.
So I have a question for you. It's super cool, but I'm still wondering what is innovation for Zalando? I'm looking for that definition because I see that it's very interesting that sometimes there are a lot of initiatives that are started within a company, but there are different types of innovation, right?
Yeah.
So that's always interesting to know how it's defined and if these types are identified so they can be channeled better.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I was wondering, right, is if the team went through a psychological approach also through the process of entrepreneurship, because for me it was very interesting that you described a lot the process, the activities, but when we talk about culture, sometimes we have to work a little bit in the motivation, in the environment, and the cognitive restrictions of entrepreneurship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering how the team came to approach this.
Yeah, so your first question. Innovation for Zalando has changed in terms of the approach. It's not about just building great technologies. It's about finding ideas who's going to solve a real customer problem. So we do the phase of discovery first. We identify what are the insights that you have to know that is a big problem for the customer. And then you build around solutions that are going to solve this problem and potentially bring business value to the company and to the customer at the same time. So that's innovation for us. How do we structure innovation? We think about different horizons. So we can say that this kind of solution can create revenues really fast. We're talking about like a short-term gain. We can think about a horizon number 2, where we don't know yet when the return is going to come. Or we can talk about horizon 3, where everything when we talk is about learnings. What do we learn from the customer? how can we translate learnings to revenue? How can we talk about innovation accounting and all those different stems from Lean Startup? So for us, innovation nowadays is solving real problems for our customers, and then we structure them in these 3 horizons. For your second question, that's a tricky one. There's something special in this company, and I think it's about the age of our employees. The average age of Zalando is 30 years old, of all the employees. I'm above average, I'm 32. And there's a lot of intrinsic motivation from people to do stuff. You know, they're like, oh, I want to do this, let's do it, I'll just bend the rules, I'll come to the lab, I'll make it happen. So I think that's an ingredient that makes this culture pretty much open for anyone to experiment, and also is related to our guiding principles within the company. 2 years ago, the company started with something called radical agility, which failed. It was about giving autonomy to the teams. So if you start in Zalando, you can decide which programming languages you can use. Just like that. You can just choose whatever you like to work with. It doesn't matter if your team is working with Java, you can just choose, I'm going to use the other one. So that's huge, that's bold for a company. People is going to give, the company gives you trust once you start in the company. So everything that you do, whatever decision that you take, you're accountable for that. We're going to give you this trust. Everything that you do within your team has a purpose. And finally, you have a tool of mastery, which you can develop any single area around what your skills are. That bold concept of radical agility nowadays is not existing anymore. We changed to a different approach, which is this tech is everywhere. And now we have dedicated owners with cross-functional teams working in a specific product. So it's about the leadership style, I'll say, the management style, plus the intrinsic motivation of the people who work in this company. And as I said, most of them are people coming from different backgrounds, from different experiences, and they really want to get things done. Okay, just let me finish this 2 slides before this turns off. Okay, so this is the acceleration phase that I was saying. This is what we're working on now. And yeah, we want to bring more impact. So that's the whole thing. After 2.5 years, well, 2 years and something from Slingshot, we want to have this phase so we can really prove that innovation is working. Because, as I said, it's very indirect measurements that we used. Of course, we have a lot of arguments saying that this is great for culture, people are super inspired, our attrition rate is lower than the whole company, but people want to see money. Well, or at least what's the short-term gain. So, last point. This is our learning journey. This is what I just showed you. After doing a lot of stuff, we're working on a strategy now. I always like to go back to my first 3 phases because all starts from here, all starts from people. Doesn't matter what the background, it doesn't matter if they're working in customer care or working in data analytics or whatever it is. Everyone has great ideas. And also, within these people, the 100 and something that I talk, they also have different stories. So the journey, it's around all this different talent that we have in the company that makes this happen. And they just feel sometimes they're not just doing things that are in the regular work. So for example, Yamen is someone who's sitting down all day coding, and this gives the chance also to understand about how the business works. So that's also good for entrepreneurship. You can also feel fulfilled that you know that your projects are actually making sense. So you know that at some point this could potentially bring impact. You were part of it. So that's how culture starts. And there are many stories around it. And that's what I really like to show for how an entrepreneurial program or how a culture around innovation really engage people and brings total ultimate value to a big company that just has like 10 years old only. So with that, just a little recap. So you can, again, don't forget these 8 things that I said, or 6 things. It all starts with a culture of bottom-up innovation for us. Gives people space. If you're working in a big company, just bring these ideas back, or in your own startup, just try to experiment stuff. You don't have to put things out. You just can see from very small experiment how this will work and how the customer will perceive this. For us, very important user-centric validation. At least from what we do nowadays, is all starting with the end consumer. Starting with the sponsor. vision, flexible goals, and yeah, it was just a recap from the end. That's the last slide, which is me with a thank you note. There you go.